Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I've got a pretty horrendous rack. I do have 2 vowels, but the rest of the rack pretty non-synergetic. Is it bad enough to change? Probably not, but I'm unlikely to leave a decent rack leave. I guess a play of PEGH would leave COV, which isn't too bad, and that does play. Jow takes an L and an S, I don't have either. I do have an O for going next to the J. What can I do with that? Well, I can do hope, which isn't great, as in the rack leave isn't great, but I'm not providing a huge amount for my opponent. Another parallel play is the most likely thing to happen, which is fine by me. Can I do better than hope? I don't think chope is good. Epoch is good, that doesn't fit. I am going with this. Well, more horror, and only 1 vowel. However, probably still good enough to keep playing rather than change. I've got no duplicate tiles. Ugly and Ghewly are both good. And I do have an L. Wow, I thought that was a bingo. Very close. I do have an L for jowl. And I have a floating O, which could be useful. So I could play cloudy, which would play off quite a few of my rubbishy tiles. Let me see what the rack leave looks like. Certainly the score's going to be okay, 26. VG, not a tragedy given the starting position. Cloudy gives very little away. Really just a K or the final H going after the C in terms of column 8 scoring. Can I do better than cloudy? Let me just put this back. That was my first thought. I don't have an E for going next to the R. I don't have anything going after jot. L can go after opal, but I'm not going to score much in column 11. I don't have anything great ending in L. Do I have anything ending LD? No. Now, how is vogie spelt? I think it's rogie which has come in, which is without the E. Let me just check that, since I can. Yeah, so it's rogie without the E. I'm going back to cloudy for 26. Well, that looks a lot better. A's and E's are the bingo-y vowels. And hopefully this time round I can get rid of the V. I have Ganev on my rack. Wow, opponent bingos. Goes into an 80-point lead. Provides a ton of useful floaters. None of them help me across the line in terms of bingoing. So what to do here? I'd quite like to keep these floaters available. So I'm looking in column 8. Can I play anything nice through this C? Not seeing anything. I don't have anything which goes after Opa. My A can go after Jot. So do I have any A something A plays? Well, only Anna, and that keeps B, G and V, which I don't want to do. I'm coming back to darings, maybe a play through the I. But it's really tricky. It's the BGV combination. I'm looking to play off two of those, and in particular the V. What about playing just VAC? Because began isn't terrible, and GN does at the moment have the Eye of Darings to assist it. And this is 24 points, and I am opening a new bingo lane in row D. And the V is a floater, although not a great one at this stage. VAC for 24. Well, slightly Val heavy. Through an R, I have Beargine and Berginia. R of Orbiter not available for either. Do I have anything through the D? Not seeing anything. I've still got an A for going after Jot. But just not seeing anything great using that. Fantastic, Berginia not blocked. So, Beargine or Berginia, not sure it makes much difference. Both get the B doubled. Berginia is better in terms of vowels next to premium squares. For Berginia for 80. Not terrible. Could be a bingo here, pretty obscure if there is. But nice scoring tiles in the H and the Y, and fairly balanced. So a play of RHY, for example, would leave Ride, which is a very good four-letter set. I have Herbie in row H, and the A of Berginia may distract my opponent, so that may stay available. I currently trail by 6, which is a much better position than a couple of moves back. So, what if Herbie is blocked? Do I have something through the A? Well, I have Hayride, which is quite nice, leaving just the R. Wow! Wasn't expecting that. Fantastic bingo by opponent, who does indeed block Herbie. Fortunately, only 61 points. So, could have been worse. And I can get 42 points for Hayride. Wow, I have Spanner and Panners. Are there spots for them? Wow, I'm not sure there are any S hooks. Well, Panners plays in row N, so I am bingoing. Where's my best bingo? Just 31 points for opponent. Fantastic. I will be catching them with this turn. Now, do I have a play through this I? Unlikely, because I've got nothing which goes after the G, so it would end I, and there isn't a play. I don't have a play through the V. The only 7s are Panners and Spanner. And there are 2 spots for Panners and none for Spanner. And the left-hand spot for Panners doesn't get doubled. The right-hand spot opens up column 15. So that's not a great choice. What about plays through the E or the N? N not looking very good, and the E neither, although that's less obviously so. Do I have a play in column 3? I don't. So I think this is the best spot. Although it doesn't get doubled, I am getting value from the D and the I and the A and the N twice. So Panners, wow, look at that, the S. in column 13, opponent can't help but score off that. Is this really the best I can do? And look at that, opponent's unsailed, blocked Vax. I'm just pausing momentarily. What about the Y? No. So what about playing the right-hand position? Because although the S opens up column 15, it's not immediately underneath a double word square. The left-hand lane allows a word of any length to be doubled, whereas the right-hand one requires opponent to stick 6 tiles down. I'm still going for the left-hand one. Pannas for 70. Well, all bingo-y tiles, but slightly vowel heavy. Where are the floating consonants? Nothing with the V. Opponent changes. Wow, fantastic. That's a let-off. So, looking at the scores, I lead by 14, which is good. Do I have a bingo through the R or the S? Not seeing anything with either. The E isn't useful. The N not available without an S. I have an O for going underneath the S. Do I have any EO plays? No. So what about a play running over the top of Pannas? And I'm anxious to take out this easy S spot. So yes, I've got quite a nice one. I can play Oh Dear, which takes nothing. 21 points is okay, and the rack leave is okay. Well, grim in some ways. However, when you're hanging on to a lead, provided I am leading, then after opponent's next turn, then this isn't a bad rack. Hopefully I can get some value from the Z. Not many tiles go after AS, just S and P and H. I have none. What about column 1? No Z plays there. Where can my Z go? I have Waltzer in column 12, which will score quite handily, and the Z won't really be available for opponent, so that's quite attractive. Bez is good. Not seeing any D something Z plays. Well, there's a ton of Z spots around the board. It's just a matter of finding one which scores a lot. Opponent taking an ominous amount of time with this move. He's been pretty fast so far, just 15 minutes left on his clock. Well, not just, but just 5 minutes taken for all his current moves. Zars is good, so do I have a play over the top of Oh Dear? Waltz nearly works, but LER not good. Or ADE, so scrap that. I have Waz and Wiz on my rack. Not seeing anywhere great for either. I don't have anything running over the top of Cloudy. That doesn't look particularly promising. What about getting the Z tripled? 2 squares in front of this A. So a play maybe ending ZIA. Wow, great. Just 28 for opponent. Leaving Waltzer alone. And I note that opponent now has provided a spot for Zatti. 45 points. But I'm quite attracted to the idea of getting rid of the W as well. and this scores more. And this rack leaves okay. So Waltzer for 46. Horrible rack. Just when I was hoping for some Scrabble magic from the tile fairy. The blank is still out there. Actually, the remaining tile's not great. Good score for opponent, 48 points. So, looking at the score, wow, just 5 points lead. Very close. 8 tiles in the bag. Blanks in there. Well, in the unseen pool, as is the queue. An opponent probably didn't have the queue. Otherwise, maybe they would have played, maybe they wouldn't have burnt this U spot. Although there is one right here in Q might. So, what to do? I'm not really worried about bingos with this rack and this board. I am worried about score. And I'd quite like to turn over tiles, although it increases my chances of the queue. I want to maximise my chances of drawing the blank, and if I do draw the queue, there's a U in the bag, there's a U on the board, and there are I's to come. So the queue isn't a disaster. 9 minutes on my clock. So how can I turn over a lot of tiles and score? And do I want to take out this U spot? I probably do. There are a lot of vowels, so if opponent has a Q, he's definitely got a Q play. And I don't really like the C. So I could play Cog for 24. Duplicate T, not a disaster. But can I do better? Can I turn over more tiles? The O is forced. I could play Tom. I could play Mog, but then I'm forgoing the value from the K. What about a play in column 6? Well, the best I can see there is Saito. 24 points, keeping GMT. That's horrible. However, quite a few vowels to come. What if I draw the Q? That goes really badly with GMT, and I've just burnt the best Q spot. I need to think about what to do here. Can I infer anything about opponent's rack from the last play, Vox? Well, only that he didn't have the Q and he's only drawn 3 tiles, so he probably doesn't have the Q. This is quite a useful spot. If he doesn't have the Q, he's might be inclined to take this spot. There's just so much scoring potential around Q might playing parallel on either side. I'm just struggling with scoring options. So I think this rack leave of MITT is far more tractable than MGC or MGT. I am at least retaining an I for the Q. And look at this, if I draw the Q with an A, I have Caddy in column 12. I'm going with Cog. Well, I ducked the Q, but I'm not feeling great. I've got a lead of 30 points, but there's a lot of scoring potential in the remaining tiles. Wow. And there, something like that. Yes, 79 points. Great bingo by opponent. Empties the bag. I'm not bingoing in reply. Wow. And I think if I'd blocked that spot, opponent would have been in great shape with the Q, U, and blank. Would have got a big U score. big Q score through the U of Q might. So I think I was doomed. Opponent cannot go out in 1, I don't think. So can I go out in 2? I could play Wilt, keeping trim. Can't see anywhere for trim. Do I have anything nice down here? Limit doesn't quite work. Oh dear, takes nothing. I don't have anything for going after as. 5 minutes on my clock. What to do? I trail by 50, which is insurmountable. So what does Wilt look like? 21 points is good. I don't think I'm going out with trim. It may be that there isn't an out in 2, so there's no point in looking for something which doesn't exist. Can I do better? I'm trying to find spots where I can play 4 tiles. They just don't seem to be available. I think if I could play 4 tiles, I could probably then play out the remaining 3. Just looking for a way to play through the L or T. I don't have anything which goes in front of Eon. I could play Milt, which burns MIT, keeping Trill. Do I have anything through the D or the Y? 3 minutes on my clock. And I'm really looking to play off just one of my vowels. I don't ever play in column 6. I don't have anything which goes in front of the U, apart from the M, which I would want for the Y. Well, I do have Wilt in my back pocket. That's certainly the best of the plays I've considered so far. I'm not seeing anything better. Wilt for 21. So, okay, nice score for opponent, 34 points. I do have the M for score, so I can play trim down here for 17. Opponent's certainly going out and can go out in more than one spot, so there's nothing for me to block. And opponent goes out. And final score, 402 for me, 465 for my opponent, a winning margin of 63 points, so well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. It was my opponent to go first. He played Jow. I had this rack. And I played Hope. And I could have played Chop for 5 fewer points, but retaining the E. Is EGV 5 points better than CGV? I would say it is. I would say it is. They're both going to be negatives. CGV may be down in the minus 10s to 15, but EGV I think is going to be, Well, maybe between 5 and 10 points better than CGV. It really is quite a difference. So I think Chop a better play, even though the C provides a double-double lane. Opponent's rack plays Orbiter. And, well, interesting, I played Cloudy for 26. I could have played Curvy through the R for 32, and I think that would have been a better play. I think DGL, a better rack lead than GV, so both score and rack lead better with Curvy. I don't think DGL is massively better than GV, but I think it's a few points better. Great rack for opponent. Plays Darings. Ganev B11. Oh wow, running over the top of Cloudy. Interesting. That would have been worth considering because the V isn't massively dangerous in column 15. Hard to put a high-scoring tile on the double letter square with a V in second place. Score's good and the rack leave is good, but Vac is also good. Began is quite a good 5-letter set, and it's only 5 points fewer than Ganev. So I like my play. Wow, I was expecting a bingo option to come up. Nothing of that ilk. And opponent scores well with ends. Now this is my rack. I have the 2 bingos mentioned, and Beginia looks fine. Great rack for opponent. And he finds Unsailed. Could have played Insully. Hooking the B. Now, this was my rack. I played Hayride. That looks fine. Horrible rack for opponent, apart from the blank. So, opponent had that blank for a very long time. Plays Foe. And now I trail by 50. But I have this rack, and I can play Panas, and Panas in 2 spots were the only bingos. So I played the lower scoring one, 6 fewer points. Very hard to know which is better. Opponent's rack, which isn't the judge of which is better. Which is why you simulate, because when you simulate, you give every simulation or iteration of the simulation, you give your opponent a random rack, and then you average the results to find out which move is better. So opponent certainly didn't change 7, would not have changed the blank. My rack. And I play Odia for 21. Yeah, and nothing obviously better. And now opponent's rack, and Odia did block Muskiest. So no bingo here. Opponent plays Q-Mite. And now I lead, but by only 7 points. And I play Waltz for 46. That looks fine. So opponent plays Vox from this rack, has the blank and the U, only missing the Q. But in playing Vox, opponent has U and blank on the rack, so no problems with blocking this U, especially given that there's the U of Q-Mite. My rack, and Hope did, well, it didn't spring Eternal. I led by 5, and I have a Grim rack. But I did have Hope at this point. Wow, Gizmo for 30, that's quite nice. Except the blanks out there. But a decent score. I play Cog for 24. Yeah, and that's not bad. Rack leave, not obviously inferior to anything above it. Apart from maybe Toting, let's have a look at that. Yeah, Toting is quite nice. Score is 20 points. I'm turning over 2 more tiles, which increases... there are only 5 tiles left in the bag. No, there were 8 in the bag, so Toting would have been the play, I think. It would have maximised my chances of drawing the Q and the blank. Now, both of those tiles were on opponent's rack. They have the bingo de track, which was a fantastic spot. And I think my race is run here. I trail by 50. The bag is empty. And this is my rack. Yeah. Nothing great on offer here. None of these look to me like out in 2 plays. So I play Wilt. Opponent plays Fey. Oh wow, there was an out. Be trim, E10. Be trim. Gosh. Well done if you spotted that. I was nowhere near spotting it. And yeah, that would have been good. It would have stopped my opponent scoring quite a bit with his final move. So I get 7 more points for trim. But B trim was better. And now opponent gets 15 points, which they wouldn't have got had I made my outplay. And that was the end of the game. So both of us over 400, and a good battle with bingos on both sides, and it all came down to who had the Q and who had the blank at the end of the game, which is often the case. So I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.